Productions.
The Green Route merch available now on sourkidsmerch.com.
Due to suggestive adult themes and dialogue, this podcast is intended for adults. In other words, the truth is ugly, so we get ugly right along with it. Everything we say is out of love for ourselves, our people, and our community. Sincerely, the Green Route Podcast. Want to welcome y'all back to the Green Route Podcast. I am GS.
And I am Marlissa. What's up, y'all? Welcome back.
We are here, and we got a few topics that we're going to jump right into. You ready?
I'm ready.
Let's get it. All right, y'all. So the first topic, this is actually pretty new. They are going to reclassify marijuana as a lower level drug. Right now, as of now, it has stood right next to heroin.
I mean, real drugs.
We're talking that
what
shit.
What Williams say? Stuff you got to mix in the kitchen.
Shit you got to mix in the kitchen.
It's been Schedule 1 since forever.
Forever.
Mm-hmm.
A part of the history behind that, too, is the fact that marijuana was also one of those things that was used to criminalize Black people in the 80s, 90s, hell, even the 70s.
So, crazy enough, I read a lot about that. And you know where it actually started?
Where?
Indigenous people used the plant. Mexican people used the plant. And so, when folks who were obviously like up for land grabs and shit like that needed to dehumanize brown people that were already living there, they started using this plant that, you know, they said made them monsters and made them like out of their minds as, you know, something that would like, I guess that would scare the masses. And so it was already set into motion before Black people started becoming like users of it. And I
know for sure. I watched a doc about like Woodstock and about like the anti-war movement. And one of the things that they said they intentionally did was connect weed, all kinds of basically any kind of hallucinogen, any kind of drug. They intentionally connected it to like the hippies from that so that they could criminalize people who were anti-war. It wasn't even about them being hippies. It wasn't even about them necessarily using drugs.
Yeah.
It was the fact that it was something they could use against them to make them look terrible for being against the war.
That's it. I mean, yeah. And I feel like even now we'll see it, right? Like, and it's funny. I'll be like, I know you smoke weed. Like, it'll be somebody on TV talking, and I'm like, I know, like every so often
we be knowing
you
who,
have a little
really
joint or whatever. You know what I mean? But even now, like you'll hear little things from like ultra conservatives who are like, you know, they own that, what do they call it? The devil's lettuce or whatever. Like, and so even the rhetoric around it now is still very much like dehumanizing, like demonizing people who use it, when we know studies have shown, facts have proven that white people use it just as much, if not more, than people of color.
And let's be clear, every time we deal with something like weed, it does nothing more than show the contradictions of American values. Because number one, what it makes me think about is the fact that we have this growth in the weed industry.
Oh, yeah.
Yet we have so many incarcerated Black men and women, Black and brown men and women who are in jail for nonviolent drug offender charges.
That's it.
And a part of the thing is, it's like, oh, it's what we call Johnny come lately. It's so good that they don't see weed as such a terrible vice anymore. Now it's profitable, so it makes sense as to why the government it's a coincidence. Let me say that. It's a huge. The timing is just oh my goodness.
We didn't plan that.
Wow, it wasn't planned at all. It's the fact that we're gonna make it. Not only are we legalizing it for majority white-owned companies to make huge profits off weed, because that's what's presently happening right now. The threshold for even non-white people of color to get into the game is so difficult. So
the cost of entry is insane.
And so we have that happening. And then the government just so happened to be like, hey guys, maybe it's not so bad at all. So
So funny thing, I actually went online and started looking for a conspiracy theory hat for you.
Give
Because the other night when I was reading
oh
about this,
yes.
I was like, I'm about to put on Gabe's conspiracy theory hat.
Please, sometimes we all have to wear it because some shit just be a little too funny.
And what I started thinking about was, why now? You have people out in the streets screaming for us to, stop blindly supporting this war over in Gaza or this massacre over in Gaza. I was like, there are all of these things that are happening where people are actually getting civically engaged. And all of a sudden they was just like, hey, y'all want some weed? I'm wearing Gabe's conspiracy theory hat, but the timing was just too good to be true.
Look, y'all, I'm going to tell y'all right now. I love that Mel is wearing the hat right now. I'm going to encourage the hat right now and keep it going.
Okay.
Because it absolutely makes sense. The use of drugs goes far back as what they did with the Native Americans, chemical warfare.
Mm-hmm.
The use of drugs in general is something that America isn't. Let me see. How can I say this? America has a history of using drugs for the sake of all kinds of causes.
Mm-hmm.
Let's be clear here.
Mm-hmm.
So the idea that, yes, we would love for these now civically engaged young folks, all these folks who are hypersensitive, rightfully so, about genocides that are happening. That we're a part of, it makes sense for us to now start to make everybody just chill. Just chill, guys.
What they missing about weed, though, because the right strain will have your mind connecting all the dots.
That's where
it's actually more dangerous than I think. If it is truly like the timing to get us to all chill the fuck out, if it is true, I think they are missing what marijuana can do for a mind that's already looking for answers. So I've had some strains where you just let it take over. And before I know it, I'm like, I done figured it out. I got it.
Well, the hope is that, my last point, the hope is that people will get a hold to the right strains, because I'm in 100% agreement. The right strands can definitely get the wheels turning in the right way. It's medicinal. It's relaxing. It's necessary for people who have been traumatized, in my opinion. If you're a black person in America, and unless you just don't like the feeling itself, unless you just don't like the feeling, I understand. But if you're a black person who done dealt with bullshit and you done been here long enough, I don't see how you not smoking. But that's beside my point. My real point is this. This is my conspiracy hat still on. My hope is that we continue to regulate it, because with the government opening the doors for it to become a lower class, quote unquote, drug, my hope and my fear has always been the people who are for the money. My hope is that they don't open that range so wide that they start to tamper with it even more than what they're doing with it right now. To make it quote unquote addictive. We still fighting issues with these cigarette companies. Who intentionally make their products addictive. So that people can buy more of them. So I just hope that doesn't lead. I hope this doesn't open the door for that. Now that's more conspiracy shit.
This is my last point. I am still apprehensive about buying from dispensaries for that reason, because I feel like it's passing through so many hands now that I don't know what you're adding to it to potentially keep me coming back the way you would a McDonald's or a Facebook or an Instagram. You've already done it with everything else in my life. And so now that you're getting your tax dollars up off of it, why wouldn't you make it
more
so that I come back continuously? So I tend to support my local neighborhood pharmacist because at least I know it's only changed hands so many times. Yeah.
Well, capitalism still kills, and let's keep going.
This is being recorded in California today, by the way. All right. Let's talk about yet another black man who died in police custody. All right, y'all. So 53-year-old East Canton, I believe, man by the name of Frank Tyson was involved or allegedly involved in a car crash. Police responded. Tyson was found in a bar, like close to the crash site. I guess he was like, go take the edge off or whatever. And police were directed into the bar. Apparently, they walk in and a lady working at the bar was like, you need to get him the fuck out of here. Now, little background about Tyson. He had like just been released. So, I mean, he's already had his stint. He did his time. He's had his experience with police. Things escalate in the bar. He ends up being handcuffed, laid face down, prostrate. Body cam show, once again, this man screaming, I cannot breathe, roll me over. The same stuff that we've seen time and time again. Long story short, he dies. One of the main issues with this, though, is there's yet another probe being opened into policing tactics and use of force. The other probe that's being opened, once again, this is not the first time we've seen this, is who is on the force and who responded. Now, the body cam showed one officer in particular chuckling and saying to the effect of, I always wanted to be in a bar fight. I hope this counts. Joking as a man is laying there dying, handcuffed.
Well, this was after he was unresponsive when he said that?
I'll have to watch the footage. I'm not sure if he was already unresponsive, but it was said while they were still standing over this man. And he was screaming things like, they're trying to kill me. He actually told them to call the sheriff. This man, because he knew what was getting ready to happen, he was like, I can't trust these motherfuckers. Call the sheriff instead. Yeah. So he asked for more police to come police the police. And he still ended up deceased after being restrained yet again, knee on back. It's the same thing, and it keeps happening, and we keep opening up investigation as to policing tactics and use of force. But what we fail, it's that same shit we talked about last week, where it's like we don't get to the root of the issue. We fail to look at the hearts and the minds of the people who we are sending out there to respond to these types of situations. I don't give a damn if I have a baton and a gun and a taser on my hip. There is something that's already innately in me that cares and empathizes for people. And so that's not the first thing that I'm going to reach for. If you have people that lack empathy, that lack the ability to see this man as a human being, I don't care how much training you give that person, they're going to respond in a certain way. And so yet again, another life loss. I'll
say this. When I saw I was in Ohio, I want something to be very clear about me. I will never ever forgive Ohio for what they did to Tamir Rice. I'll never forgive. I'll never forgive them. And don't get me wrong, I know some good people, good brothers who are from Ohio. So this is not a slight against people who are from there at all. It's not a slight to them at all. But what it is, it just goes to show that there are some states that are just constantly in the news for shit like this. Yeah. The video when I watched the video, it showed the police officer with his knee in his back, not on his neck, but in his back. And you can definitely hear the man saying that they are trying to kill me. I can't breathe. I guess it's more like, kind of to your point, how many more times does this have to happen before we realize that police officers need to learn? Well, I guess the thing is, it ain't so much that they need to learn it, because everyone knows that you can be better at your job. Yeah. You can figure out new ways, but do you want to learn better? Do you want to do better? Sheriffs, people who are in those positions, do you want your police officers to respond better? No. What are you all doing to find out more so the ethos of your officers? Because again, you can have all the training, all the guns, all the shit in the world, but if in their minds, violence is their first
Mhm.
and last point of response, then what do you have?
Yeah.
A bunch of people with guns, with positions, who insist on using violent ways to subdue people.
Mhm.
And thing about it is, like I said, when you have, I can see a scuffle happening between a one-on-one situation. I can see a scuffle happening. I'm telling you to go somewhere, you don't want to go.
Mhm.
We wrestling, whatever. But when you have multiple officers with you, in my mind, that is a situation in which lethal force should be the least likely thing to happen.
Mhm.
You have enough people to literally grab one arm, grab
Right.
the other arm,
Right.
and we can just stand there.
Right.
I don't have to necessarily beat the shit out of you. I can just hold you.
Yeah.
It's adult men strength. So I think the funny thing is, in today's episode, we're going to talk more about police brutality with college students. We're going
Right.
to talk about that later.
Right.
But RIP to that brother. He's now with the ancestors. I hope that his family gets everything that they need. And I hope that those officers get everything they deserve as a result of this.
Yeah.
Because it never should end violently. It never should end with death. Let's be clear. It should never ever end with death. A police interactions, I think that's our overall thing. Police interactions should never end with death.
Yeah, I'm not saying that police cannot protect themselves, that they don't have the right to go home at the end of the day, which is always their argument, that I'm just trying to make it home, and that's great.
Mm-hmm.
But you have to remember, like, the same way that me and Gabe read and study and do our due diligence to do this show, because this is something that we take seriously as a profession, you went into the profession of policing, meaning that even in a situation where I would be freaking the fuck out, you should be the best of us, because it is your profession. It is what you said that you did to protect and to serve. So the fact that so many people die on the watches of the folks who are supposed to be the calmest and the most secure and the most able to de-escalate situations is just insane to me. And it goes to show that it is not about your training. It's not about how many hours you put into a classroom. It is about the hearts and minds of the people who we are giving badges and guns and fucking tasers and batons to.
That's
and
it.
we got to address that shit.
That's it.
Because it's just going to keep happening.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pin drop.
That's what I got.
All right, y'all. We're gonna move on to the next topic. The next topic, it's actually broken down into 4 different aspects. Again, Mel and I we don't intentionally look for the fuck shit that the government is doing or not doing. That's negative. We don't intentionally. So I think we're going to take this opportunity to point out a few things that our government has done correctly. So specifically, there are 4 different things that have occurred this week. Now let me add this part.
Disclaimer.
Let's add this disclaimer. Do we sincerely believe these things were done because they sincerely cared about American citizens? Do we believe that these things that we're about to talk about, do we believe that?
Hell no.
Absolutely not. Do we believe instead that they are a response to how shitty this current administration is looking? And they got to do something.
They had to give us something.
They got to give something.
We're on the brink of a war. They like, please get people something.
Please.
Give them
So let's be clear about that. We're pointing these things out because they are good for the working man and woman. They are good for the working citizen. They're good for them. But I just want that to be clear that this is in no way, shape, or form us believing that this is all being done in good.
Yeah, they didn't
faith.
sit around a table and was like, we should really help people. We should
really help our citizens.
We should do something.
All right, y'all. We just okay. All right, let's get to the points. So let's see a few things. So number one, the FTC banned the use of non-compete clauses. So the Federal Trade Commission has gone in and said that to companies and corporations that you can no longer put things in place that keep people from leaving your corporation and going to another one that's just as big or a competitor. Give us more on that, Mel.
Yeah, so I actually I've had several non-compete clauses where when you leave one company, if you have a job offer from someone who is considered a competitor, an entity that is considered a competitor, usually you can't go to that place, right? So, for example, if you work for T-Mobile, a non-compete clause would say, oh, you can't go work for AT&T or Verizon or Sprint or whatever because they do the same shit that we do. You've had access to our proprietary information and we don't want you taking that over there. Why non-compete clauses got super dangerous, especially like in the last few decades, is because of really like how many companies have sucked up smaller companies. So now, for example, AT&T just isn't phone service anymore. It's TV, it's internet, it's home security, it's government contracting. So not only can you not go to a Verizon or a T-Mobile, you also can't go to DirecTV. You also can't go.
I didn't think about that. You're right.
Yeah. Now that like so many companies have like
branched out.
Yes.
So now that non-compete clause, that umbrella is even wider. It's even wider.
Anywhere if you work for the right. Like think about Amazon, right? All the things that Amazon has their fingers in. If you are under a non-compete clause with Amazon, where the fuck you gonna go work outside of like a fast food spot? Like, where are you going?
You got to go directly into food. Like, you got to go to a whole different industry.
Maybe a liquor company. You can work for like Diageo or something like that. But think about these companies and how they have branched out and insane. Like diversified. So this is fantastic. But I'm waiting to see what's in it for the companies. I also think that companies are going to start using more non-disclosure agreements to cover themselves, which I think is okay. The problem is implementing it. So if I still go work for one of your competitors, right? Like, how do you know that I'm not talking about something that could be considered proprietary information from the company I just lost? I think it's going to get murky. I'd be interested to learn the details. But yeah, like this, like non-complete clauses were like really holding a lot of us back from being able to go to other companies and oftentimes get like a pretty nice raise because when you leave a company, your income is usually going to jump like 10 to 30%. So yeah.
I think that's interesting. It does sound like, for me, what I think about is the money. I do think that, you know what, we just don't want to, want you to have that freedom to go or even have any leverage. Because if you can go and have another company that actually wants you, 9 times out of 10, it is a competitive company and I need to sit down. The next one that's happened, the Department of Labor has strengthened overtime rules. So starting in a few more months, maybe next month, anything over 40 hours, you are guaranteed a time and a half. It is now in the law for you to get paid. They can't slip away from that. So that's a plus.
Salary requirement though. You got to be under a certain.
You have to be under a certain salary. You have to be under a certain salary.
I think it's $844 a week. If you make less than $844 a week, you are eligible for this. If you make more, you are not eligible. I want to point out, if you make $844 a week, that's about $40,000 a year.
Yeah.
So if you're making more than that, you can go on and kiss that dream goodbye.
All right. So that's that part. FCC has restored net neutrality. So that's important because what we've learned is that a lot of these companies have, they've actively slowed down speeds when you are dealing with competitive companies or companies that are not aligned with their own business interests.
That's right.
It also has kept them from giving out your data. That's another part about it too. So shout out to them for restoring net neutrality. Actually, net neutrality started under Obama. Trump repealed it.
Yeah. There were a lot of lobbies against it because internet companies wanted to be able to say, what? I can pick and choose.
I can pick and choose. I can slow down your shit because, or if you're not with my streaming company, the streaming company that I have, I can give you less I can make your speed slower. I can actively do that. So I'm happy that that's changed. Last one, Department of Transportation has now issued protections for airline passengers. Many passengers have complained. Now, I don't travel that much via the airlines, but Mel is a traveler. Mel is a traveler. So it has been a one-sided fight for a long time. So my last point on this, I think it's very interesting how this has been a fight for a long time. And for the most part, a lot of these airline companies have added more taxes. They have increased their prices, all the while the actual plane itself, the quality of it is getting shittier and shittier. So it's like the actual object that your whole business is like wrapped around is becoming worse while you all have charged more. And now people who travel on airplanes there are now some consequences to these airline companies.
I 100%. Like, I've had flights canceled, and I don't care if it was weather related, if it was on you. Like, I've had flights canceled, and they'll look at you like, oh, we can rebook you, but you're gonna have to stay here in the airport overnight. I've slept in airports, like used my bag as like a pillow and slept in airports because they won't pay for a hotel. They won't give you a voucher for a meal or anything like that.
Right.
So yeah, not only are they just trash when it comes to actually like taking care of people when they get canceled and have to like figure out what the fuck to do with themselves and their kids, but they also like nickel and dime us now. The fact that I have to pay to take my own bag on an airplane is insane to me.
When you used to didn't have to.
I remember when you could check, I think it used to be 2 bags for free. Now, Southwest still does it. That's the only airline that I know still does it, or at least American Airline. But yeah, like, you got to pay for water now. They're going to be charging for the seatbelts in a minute. It's ridiculous. And the planes are falling apart. I saw a meme the other day that was like, airlines now allowing customers to bring tools on plane to help with routine maintenance. And I'm like, yeah, I know it's a joke, but honestly, they might be giving us little toolkits on the way in to, tighten up bolts and shit.
Y'all, so these are just a few things that we've noticed
they
have made some changes on. And while we are happy that these changes are being made, again, like we said, we don't believe they were done in good faith.
What's the catch?
What's the catch? Well, the catch is the current administration is looking like shit, and they need to make some changes to affect people.
He had to do something. Yeah.
So speaking of what they're trying to cover up,
back to our regular schedule
speaking
program.
of what they're trying to cover up, right now there have been college campuses right now in the thick of it. They're in the thick of it. They are setting up encampments. It started off in Columbia University. They're setting up encampments across America. College campuses across. UT Dallas just started one today. So we are going in solidarity. I am wearing my kafeye to support them because clearly the government is not.
That's real.
And I think for me, the craziest thing one of the newest, craziest epiphanies that I've gotten from this is like what we're doing is we're creating this umbrella, this bubble of people that the government is not going to protect. So of course we know they don't care about Palestinians. Let's be clear. Palestinians, Congolese people, Ugandans, Sudanese. So we know Haitian. We know. But now we're adding, this week we've added 2 more groups: college students and elderly people, elderly professors. So what they're showing us is that they are willing to put the interest of an entire foreign, let's be clear here, foreign government over the rights of its own college student body of citizens.
That's real.
And I'm like, this is insane. I wonder who else is under that, who's under that. And it's, I got more, but.
Well, so to me, as I watch this unfold, and first of all, I will say again, Gen Z, we are incredibly proud of you. We stand in solidarity with y'all. I have been donating to the bail funds because these babies are out there getting arrested. They are standing on the front line. So very proud of y'all. But it's so interesting when I watch yet another attack on an institution of thought and higher learning. This is the place where these kids are supposed to be learning about the world around them, about how to be engaged and involved in the world around them. And they learn those things so much so that they realize, like, wait, my country has aided in this thing that I found out was wrong. And I'm going to stand up and say something against my country, my university, my institution, aiding or being complacent in what's happening. And so to see this attack is insane. Now, what I will say is that I'm so glad that this actually started at Harvard. Let's be clear. This started at Harvard back in October because they were doxing those kids.
Yeah.
But Columbia, I appreciate that being the epicenter of what we're seeing spread, because can't nobody just roll up in Columbia, right? We're talking Ivy League, where these are legacy kids. The tuition is insane. Their parents are probably very powerful, very influential people. And to watch that be the breeding ground of what's happening lets me know that a lot of the fear is, yes, the people will revolt, but also the ones who were supposed to be the next generation of people who think like us, who will protect capitalist interests, are actually pushing back on what we were supposed to be teaching them was right.
It's interesting for that reason, for sure, because I think a lot of these kids are waking up and realizing that they are in the belly of the beast. And again, like you said, this beast is actually, or what it's been trying to do is massage them into these higher up positions in these higher up circles in which they continue the capitalistic gains of these corporate companies, because for the most part, that's what they want their intellectual power to be used for. Let's be clear about that part. But I'm also proud of them too. You know, one of the other reasons why I'm proud of them, how they're handling like the hecklers, the outsiders, design. So I've seen two videos. One in particular where it was this white girl, white Jewish.
Did she have Jew on her shirt?
I wouldn't even talk about her, but she, oh God, she was just cringe. Sad. That was just cringe. Like, I don't even cringe, but that was cringy. But there was this one white woman, and she was trying to go inside of the encampment, and she was going around. She was trying to ask questions. I just want to know. That's what she was saying. I just want to know. And then what they did was, which is what I love, they're just not engaging. They're saying, go talk to our media liaison. And the media liaison was like, oh, we're not talking to the media today. And she ended up surrounded by them and was like, I'm scared and intimidated. Is that one was
calling the cops?
Not that one.
Oh,
so again, there's a bunch of them. Y'all, there are a bunch of them. She talked about how scared and intimidated she was, and they were just standing there.
Ain't nobody even paying attention.
Nobody. No. They were standing there in front of her, and they were looking at her, but they were not engaging. They just didn't want her in coming inside of the encampment. And she was like, I was trying to have this end with hugs and love, and this is all I wanted. And she really tried to, and she cried too. Let's be clear. She definitely used the tears. So I thought that was interesting. There was another guy who was wearing his Star of David necklace, who was trying to go through the encampment to get to the other side. And he was like, all I'm trying to do is just get to my building. All I'm trying to do is get to my building. And it's like, I wish I had the vocabulary for these kind of pieces of shit. Because I'm, in my mind, if you're really just trying to get to the other side of the building and you have to go through, first of all, we know that you're being insincere because you have the Star of David on your neck. Let's be clear. You're not just trying to go to your building. Like that kind of shit.
And you found a camera to say it.
You found a camera to say it in front of. The thing about it is, for anybody, if you are not in agreement, or let's just say you just don't want to be involved, the best thing you could do is go around, not even place yourself.
Anybody with good. If I saw a group of white supremacists, like, and I'm by myself and I'm truly afraid, which is what they're saying. Like, I'm afraid for my life, my safety, all of that. This is what we've been hearing Jewish students say.
That's the point. That's another point.
So you mean to tell me, like, what is this, like a test of your faith to walk through an encampment if you think you're going to be attacked? Because I'm going to be honest, if I'm afraid of a bunch of like white supremacists setting up shop, guess who not going in there?
Who not?
Child.
Not I, said the cat.
I'm just saying.
So So y'all, my final point about this, because one thing that just happened last night. Again, let me start off by saying this: all of these white supremacists, colonial settlers, imperialists, again, they all are repeating these same styles, these same activities, these same oppressive actions. It's consistent. One of those actions that I noticed last as a result of seeing this new video that came out, and this new video shows like Zionists who are not associated with any police officers or anything like that. They look like either a combination of students and grown people. They started to attack the encampments, hitting them with pipes, tearing them down, really pushing to tear that shit down. And guess who wasn't there? The police to stop them. Yeah. My point is this: for years, white supremacist structures, governmental structures, we talking about the police, we talking about the National Guard, we talking about that. For years, they have allowed quote unquote the common citizen to participate in violent acts against civil rights movements. They've allowed their own people to do. Jerry Jones, the owner of the Cowboys, was at when they were allowing black students to go to their school. Jerry Jones was right there watching, saying, "I was just curious." No, they were allowing you all this close and allowing you all to spit vitriol because y'all were doing their job for them. So my point is this: that's how you know that they are who they are, because they are allowed, again, same trick. They are allowing, quote unquote, these citizens to be violent towards these resistors, towards the people who only, again, let's be clear, they only just want peace in Palestine. Yeah. That's all they want. They want for Palestine to not be genocided. That's all this is. And they're calling
for it under their American right to protest peacefully and to speak freely.
Right.
So the fact that like I'm watching these arrests on campus, like they're occupying land. That's it. That's not America. You should know something about that, baby. You have occupied quite a bit. So for me, when I watch the rights of these students being violated, it's insane. And I do want to point out the House of Representatives is getting ready to vote on an anti-Semitism awareness bill today, where on college campuses, K through 12 and college campuses, when the Department of Education when it applies its non-discrimination law, its anti-discrimination law, it has to use a specific definition of anti-Semitism. And that definition of anti-Semitism includes what you and I are saying right now. So it is literally a breach of First Amendment, because what it does is it leaves anti-Semitism so wide and so broad that even looking at the state of Israel and saying, "Hey, I don't really like what y'all doing over there," could be considered anti-Semitism. And that may very well be law and policy under the Department of Education in this country after this afternoon when the House of Representatives votes on it.
Well, I don't know what to say to that point. Outside of the fact that who's wearing the pants, who's running shit, clearly Israel is. The United States of Israel. All right, y'all. Moving on to our last and final topic, and we ain't gonna spend too much time. We ain't gonna spend too much time on it. This is a fun topic. We got Drake and Kendrick. So we got the boy from Canada, and then we got the good kid from the Mad City. What are your thoughts on these back and forths?
Yeah. So first of all, I'm glad J. Cole dropped out of it. That's what I will say. I was so glad to watch J. Cole say, "I'm actually better than this shit. Y'all have at it." Because I think we probably talked about that. Like, that's usually my stance when I feel like I'm actually better than somebody who's trying to drag me into some bullshit that's going to waste my time. So I was glad to see J. Cole be like, it actually hurt my fart after, honestly, J. Cole did what he did. With Kendrick and Drake, here's my thing, specifically about Kendrick. Love Kendrick, right? I'm a Section 80, been rocking with him since the mixtape days, TDE days. I don't even think this had to be a thing. When I listened to the song with J. Cole and Drake, and I heard what Kendrick was responding to, the big three comment.
It's just big me.
I was just like,
fuck with
nigga,
it.
wait, you're mad that you were put in the lineup with J. Cole. Now, Drake, that's a whole nother thing. But if somebody says like, if somebody was to come and tell me like, hey, you're just as good as a Crystal West or an Angela Rye or Amanda Seales, I'd be like, fuck yeah, I'll be part of the big three.
I appreciate
Shit.
that.
Like, I'm never going to be like, big three is big. So for me, like, not even being able to take the compliment was mind blowing to me. But I'm like, it's also the rap game, right? There's a certain level of grandiosity, like, you know, showboatiness, cool, whatever. Now, okay, so I listened to Kendrick's new song. Did he drop it yesterday?
Euphoria.
Yesterday. Drake, just leave it alone.
Woo!
That's where I am at this point.
Did he? Is it over? I'm gonna be honest with you.
Because I want to know what he gonna do. What do you have?
Let's be clear here, because I don't even know if you go in that direction, but I'm gonna go ahead and complete the thought. There is nothing, Drake. I'm sorry. Like
what do you have?
This, in my opinion, it is in my top 2 disses for sure.
Who's number 1?
No, he might this one. I gotta listen. I gotta sit with it for a while before I can give it that number 1 status. But to be honest with you, my favorite Beef record is probably not one that's well known, but it's actually called Beef. It's by Mos Def.
Okay.
And he just kind of came at the whole United States apparatus.
Oh well.
And it was fire. It was fire.
Okay. All right.
But yeah, so this is for my hip hop heads. That's one. Of course, Tupac Hit 'Em Up is in there. Of course, Tupac Hit 'Em Up.
First off, fuck your
that was disrespectful.
I started a blog like that once. It was great.
That sounded like a great start, actually.
It was great.
Of course, the Takeover, Jay, classic one, Ether, Nas.
The Jay-Z, Nas.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So there's been a lot of classic beefs, but I think this one, Kendrick's response. So, few things that he said in here where I just was like, oh my God. So I'm gonna say number 1, the questioning of his blackness. He said it is cringe when you say the N-word.
I would agree. I have felt that way since number 1, since of course I knew he was mixed, but then I found out the nigga was Canadian. I was like, what?
Black.
No.
Where are your connections to blackness in that way to be so?
You were taking far too many liberties, my boy.
Too many.
Far too many.
So that was one. That was harsh. The other one, and I guess it's kind of still related to culture, but he just was like, we don't even like the women that you like. So that could have went 2 ways. That could have went to the fact that, of course, you know, he has a propensity for light-skinned, culturally ambiguous women, like a lot of celebrities. So they ain't really that big, but he's not wrong.
Yeah.
That's that. Calling him, what did he say? He said he called him a manipulator. It's like, and now when you think about, it's not that harsh but when you think about it in the context of, you know, him talking about, going on later in the verse, talking about, you know, you being next to Sexy Red and I can't tell, you know, I see 2 bitches. That was disrespectful. That line was just disrespectful. But it is that, like, he's been saying, you know, he's basically saying, as far as the culture goes, you are coming off like these are things that we've always thought. My last point that I thought was very, very harsh, but very, he said, you can't.
I know.
Timer going off.
Exactly what
you can't teach certain aspects because they're not of you. I can teach my son how to pray. I can teach my son the ways of being a man. Why? Because I'm with him every day. And I'm like, that to me, that was the nail in the coffin. Yep. The coffin was already pretty much. Daddy. He and I don't know how people feel, because of course, like, people can be like, oh, what other stuff he could say that was worth, other stuff he said, call him a bitch and da 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 da. And I'm not saying that those things aren't bad, but I think the part that hurts.
I think that should be the biggest diss on the track. Is you're a bad father. Like, I think we need to make that something to be ashamed of. in our community. So I was actually really glad that Kendrick said it.
So y'all, that's our perspective on it. Interesting. We're gonna watch this play out. We're gonna see how this plays out.
I just hope Drake just leave it alone.
Yeah,
But he
yeah,
not.
Drake. Yeah,
That's
you're
the
not.
thing.
You're not.
He's
Kendrick.
not.
I think Kendrick won. I think it's over. So concluding this, we're going to check in right quick.
Yeah.
Mel, how are you?
I am good. I'm having a very, very busy day, but good. Yeah.
Good.
Overall good. How you doing?
I'm feeling pretty good. Like I said, I am rocking my kafeye in support
We love it.
of our Palestinian brothers and sisters, also in support of our college brothers and sisters, our brothers and sisters who are fighting the fight on these college campuses. We are supporting you because clearly the government is not.
Yeah.
But outside of that, outside of the bullshit, I'm pretty good.
I like it. You had time to watch TV recently?
No, not really.
Me neither.
Not really.
That's all
I haven't been able to sit down and watch anything, but I feel good. I'm feeling good.
I love it. Y'all, one thing I'm noticing, so I started watching TV for real, like probably a few years ago, just because I got busy. It's hard to go back once you stop. Like, I can still watch movies, but to sit down and watch a show like episode, it's really tough because all I can think about now is like, I could be reading right now, or it's crazy. And somebody told me it was going to be tough. They was like, watch me, you turn that TV off, it's going to be tough to go back to it. And sure enough, like I'm thinking about giving one of my TVs away at this point.
The only reason why I had got back into TV, because when I started my own business, I just didn't have time to keep up with anything. The only reason why I had started back watching TV was because of somebody I was with. I was dating.
Okay.
And we picked
She
up a
liked
show.
TV.
Yeah. There was this episode, so I started back watching it. So now I feel myself kind of slowly creeping back. And I know I'm going back because the only thing I like to watch is like old shit that I didn't seen before.
Yeah.
So nothing new is getting me. So that's a good sign. I'm actually happy about that.
I appreciate that when I do get to watch it, it's like refreshing and it's something that I don't get to do. It's like having a cheat meal for me. It's actually really cool. So
I'm into content, news, and boxing. That's pretty much it.
I mean,
Yeah.
I'm not mad at that.
Yeah.
All right, well, we're going to get out of here.
Like, follow, subscribe to Green Route Podcast. Big shout out to Sour Kids Productions.
Always.
Our man Kenny. We'll see you when we see you.
All right, later.
And it still wouldn't be enough. And they are lucky that what black people are looking for is equality and not revenge.